Knight Treasure Trove will go down as an all-time classic for me. So many memories beating and completing the campaigns multiple times. Except Plague of Shadows. I'm sorry, but I didn't have it in me to reach the high skill ceiling that game requires once again. But not to mention the battle mode with all your favorite knights alongside King of Cards. Easy segue now to the second paragraph. Looking for a twist to spice up my third playthrough, I decided to try and beat King Knight's big and bashful adventure without jumping. Can I do it? Let's get into it. Alright, so on to the first Plains level. You might be wondering how we even stand a chance at beating this 2D platformer without jumping. Well, King Knight's moveset is actually pretty useful in that regard. He has a bash that can give us forward momentum in the air, but more importantly, if you bash into a wall or an enemy, King Knight will be put into a spin that gives us vertical height. This seems like a deadly combo, but the problem is that once we start spinning, we won't be able to bash again unless we touch the ground. Pretty quickly in this first level, we learn that enemies can be manipulated in a way that will let us get across these gaps. By bashing into this left wall, we get a spin going that will let us bounce off the enemy. Something I didn't mention before is that when bouncing on an enemy with a spin, we're able to get our dash back, and that will help us soar into the other side of this gap. Great stuff, except now we get to a big gap with no enemies in sight. I tried to bring some of these beetles over, but it's no use, and we're going to sadly take a jump to get across here. So that's it, this run is not jumpless, but I encourage you to keep watching because you may be surprised later down the line. I could of course use cheats to get through the game and give me all the power-ups, but I don't want to do that. Hey, let's not stay on that low note for long though, because the rest of the level is actually possible when we get the jump economy achievement for beating a level in less than 10 jumps. Specifically only 1. Level 2 isn't looking good for us since these walls lined with grass can't be bashed for a spin, but after breaking a few controllers, we actually only require 1 jump to beat this level. Now you may be saying to yourself, already 2 jumps? That's kind of a lot. But just look at the stuff I'm doing on screen. This challenge is going to be a lot harder than I thought. Now there seems to be a strange trend as level 3 and the first House of Joustus also require just 1 jump. No more, no less. You might think we'd have to jump in the Spectre Knight fight, but it's actually right here at the beginning. This lamp sits here taunting us as our only choice is to jump and bash to break the blocks below. Even more frustrating is that we're able to clear the entire house, but right at the end, the exit ring just sits out of reach. At this pace, we're going to have 30 jumps by the end of the game, but thankfully after this house, the game opens up and we get a little more freedom in what levels to choose. A couple things before moving on. You might think collecting gold or medals would be unimportant for a non-completion run, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I'll get more into why that is later, but just make sure to grab gems, gold, and medals. Second, is that throughout the run, it would be pretty good to get some power-ups, but for the most part, that's going to be impossible. A lot of them are locked behind levels that take away your bash, as a tutorial for the ability. That means jumping, which is a no for us. Anyways, I see a pretty straight path to the castle, so let's go for it. I know that once we beat the first boss, we're going to unlock some things that can help us, so it's just a question of getting there without jumping. I actually beat this first castle level here, but the second stage is a no-go. We can't get past this part here with the bookcases. I tried to find another way around for about 2 hours, but it's as if the game knows what we're doing. I beat all the bosses around here, including the ghost house, in hopes of finding an ability I forgot about. I'll place them in the highlight moments in the background as I mention a few things. Shovel Knight has a bad habit of putting long and hard stage elements at the end of a level. This makes sense in level design, but it's made a lot of these final moments really tough. As you can see on the map here, the final castle level is blocked by 2 power-up levels that block our bash, and then this level that we found to be impossible. That means we're going to have to eat another jump here. But this stage isn't over yet. The final segment is a gauntlet of magic books that disappear and lava buckets that pour down. This is where we learn that we get our bash back if we take damage. Time it right to get hit by the lava falls, and this one is possible. That just means it's time for the final stage. This one is surprisingly possible until we get to the boss fight. Remember when I said getting gold was important? Use that money to stack up on health pies from your mom, because this fight is tough. Patience is key, and staying on top of the king is a must. But with a little time and effort, this one can be beat. That's already 1 judge down, and just 5 jumps. But we still have 2 more to go, so no time to waste. At this point we unlock the armor shop from the king, who boards our airship. Lucky us, he's on the first floor, so we're able to nab this cheapest set. This armor makes us lose less gold upon death, but more importantly, watch what happens when you fall in a pit or spikes. That's right, We are taken super high by our rat minions, giving us the edge we need for the upcoming levels. But wait, there's more! After a quick first level, in the second area, we unlock the Frog Bubble power-up. This thing is incredibly useful in giving us height and distance over long gaps. We can essentially freeze ourselves in the air, but we're also able to dash out of a bubble, making the rest of the game significantly easier. The only thing is that it uses up magic, so be sure to purchase those magic pies from your mom with all the medals you found. We can clear an easy jumpless path leading up to the boss, but here are some of the highlights of that journey. This mole mini boss wasn't looking good, so I took the secret exit here for another way around. There were also some tough sections with the axolongles and this boat ride. If there were any other cool moments I'm forgetting, they'll play on screen right now. However, it's time for the Trouble King. This boss is no cakewalk because we have almost no ground to stand on, but even worse is that we're in the boat. The thing about the boat is that vertical height is essentially impossible. We can't bash for a spin, and we can't be helped by the rats if we can't fall in the water. Thankfully, the Trouble King has a giant hitbox, and we can intentionally get hit for some height that freezes from the boat. This fight is in fact possible, but we still have one more judge to face. With still only 5 jumps to our name, we prepare to face World 3. At this point, I'm just looking for what would be the shortest path to the boss. I decided to go up by Propeller Knight's domain, but that was probably a mistake because this secret exit I was going for was super tough. The diagonal auto-scroll of the moving ships was definitely not a piece of cake. Still though, this whole area proved to be possible. I'll play highlights on screen of cool moments from these levels, but after beating Spectre Knight a second time, we make it to King Birder's castle, a level that proved to be a huge difficulty spike. These moving blocks were incredibly easy to get crushed by, but the biggest problem was managing our magic consumption. Our rats can't save us from a vertical level, and when we fall, we'll just drop to the screen below. However, using my superior intellect, I was able to do some dumb looking stuff with the bubble, as you'll soon see, and I had just enough magic to reach the boss. King Birder doesn't mess around, and a smaller hitbox isn't easy to reach, as he bounces around the arena shooting lasers. His downfall though, is having walls on the sides, because we're able to brute force our way through this one for a final blow on the Birder. But in a surprise twist, the adventure isn't over yet. The Enchantress reveals herself to be the true mastermind and opens the way to the Tower of Fate, some of the hardest levels in the game. King Knight and crew make way towards the Magic Monarch. Surprisingly, this isn't so bad until we get to the mid-checkpoint section in the Portal level. This is a vertical auto-scrolling tower section with moving platforms and enemies. This was easily the toughest thing I had done so far, and I'm so proud of myself for beating it, so I'm going to let the whole clip play while I ask you to subscribe and whatnot. Okay, so I've been doing this channel for about 5 months now, and it's been really enjoyable. I usually do game design or analysis videos on platformers like Shovel Knight, but I've started to branch out into doing more discussions, top 10s, and challenge runs like this. Obviously, I don't have a lot of subscribers right now, so if you somehow got this video in your feed and aren't subscribed, that would really be the biggest thing you could do to support. I don't think I'll ever be in a position to do this as a paying job, but more subscribers means more people seeing the videos, which I spend a few hours on. That's all I could ever want. Anyways, I finally made it to the top, and thankfully I had just enough magic to make another bubble because being stuck so close to the finish would have been horrible. But with that, we're officially on to the final level. Now guys, I have to come clean about something. I couldn't beat the final boss without jumping. I just couldn't do it. The Enchantress hides under this platform for so long, and without walls on these sides, getting up to her when she's vulnerable is really tough. Over the hours I spent on this fight, I grew a deep hatred for the Enchantress, which I suppose is thematically fitting. I was actually able to beat the first phase after switching to the grey armor that allows you to dash upward, but then the second phase came along, and there was just no way. Maybe there is some item I could find that would help, but I wasn't sure what to do. So that's it. All this way, and it looked like we would be able to beat the game with only 5 jumps. I suppose I could jump a few times during the boss, to at least finish the run. But I didn't want to do that. So as it stands, I can't beat King of Cards without jumping and cheat codes. So I started a new file and beat it with cheat codes instead.